And there it is. That box, that red box that says live. Live live. Yeah, that's what's going on. We are living and we are live and we are streaming, and it's Friday and you made it at the end of the work week, and so congratulations. Congratulations, you survived till Friday, and now it's just a home stretch, man. You just got to make it to, you're working 9 to 5. Is it 5? 4:30, maybe 5, something like that. Nowadays, though, all the employment, it seems, has shifted in its structure throughout the decades to accommodate this diverse landscape we now have, and corporation greed. So now it's no longer 9 to 5 at the factory, is it? You can work around the clock, any day, anytime, anywhere. It's demanded. We need people behind desks somewhere calling you and soliciting you for, I don't know, credit cards or something. I tell you, it's an interesting world, no doubt, but we keep our head above water, right? We don't want to plunge too deep down in there and find ourselves, too discouraged about everything going on. Though it's been, I'll tell you, this week has had pros and cons, right? Like any week. And sociopolitically, it's been a bit on the pro side of things. It seems encouraging, a bit hopeful. You and I, Christians faithful to our Lord and Master, of course, must always keep the priority of our faith in action. The passion of our trust in our King as legal citizens of his kingdom. That is the thrust, purpose of our life. It's a spiritual way of seeing this existence, and we cannot compromise on that. But we can cooperate and coordinate with the stewardship we have been called to experience, and that is this physical existence. This world is fallen. It is but a vapor, and it will all end one day. But that doesn't mean we should treat it like garbage and just throw it away and, just couch surf every other day and just erode away into nothingness. There is purpose, and we certainly, as a community of individuals, neighbors, are affected by the socio-political landscape. Politics, the polis of the cities, they trickle down to the rural areas, don't they? And they affect us in one way or another. How's the price of groceries these days? How about rent? How about the mortgage? How about interest rates? How about gas? What's going on over there? Do you think that's just some kind of a oops, I don't know. It's a coincidence. It happens. Who knows what happened? I don't know. Must be must be climate change, like they tell us. Must be the change of the weather. The weather's changing, and somehow, some kind of strange magical potion, the prices of groceries just skyrocket way up there because the weather's changing. And our current world leaders, well, they want to change that. Climate change the weather, help the weather somehow. So us, peasants, well, we need to be taxed to death so that we can fix the weather. It's like one of our local drive-thru restaurants here. Is it even called a restaurant? I don't even know if it falls into that category. But they will give you a soda cup made out of plastic with a paper straw. We're super educated now. We got paper straws and plastic cups pumping us with sugared poison. We're going to save the weather. Isn't this fun, saving the weather? Yeah. So that's where we're at now because we're so, educated. We've evolved. Yeah. So that's taking place. And, but with that aside, some positive things have taken place this week from individuals, sources, and influencers, political pundits and political positions that say, you know what? I think we're tired with that whole worldview, that whole ideology thing. It's a tree, and it grew a great many branches, and it's produced fruit. And fruit has been of the likes of division and chaos and riot and murder and unaffordableness and removal of freedom and everything. I could go on and on. It's this massive bucket list, all these module branches and what they've been producing from this tree, this ideological depravity, this tyrannical oppression, this evil tree. It doesn't nourish its roots from fresh living water. No, it's more like, how should I say, vinegar and mold, corruption. That's how it feeds, just evil. This evil brewing thing. If you're familiar with the Lord of the Rings franchise, Enterprise, series, whatever. Remember the bad guys? They were down in the earth, and they would just like eat up everything that was alive, and they'd just be brewing these ghoulish-looking figures in the soil, like almost as if they are in the pit of hell, and these are the conduits of terror upon mankind. That element. The eye, the evil flaming eye. Well, some good guys have started to wake up to everything around us and be like, hey, man, what's going on here? We've lost our country. Foreign invaders have taken over. They've taken over, and now they've got us inside this dungeon. There's this oppression, this ideological? Is that a word? Is that how you say that? Ideological? Ideas? These ideas they have are dangerous. Yeah. And so the good guys this week were kind of like, you know what? I think we're done with it. I think we have to now turn the page, we got to go into a different chapter of our existence here historically, because this stuff's been destroying us these past decades. Real bad, too. I don't want none of those things. So we're going to be discussing some of those things and the positive side of life. Socio-politically. Because on Fridays, that's what we do. This is the slot section of our theme for Friday's podcast session is socio-political. Gives you and I, Christians with a Christian worldview, trying to do our best to live faithfully, a bit of like a soapbox, if you will. We get to rant a little bit on current events. Always with the upright decency of Christian behavior. We want to remain self-controlled. That doesn't mean we can't be animated and colorful and passionate and all those wonderful things, but we have to remain within the confines of an upright behavior. And that can be challenging. If you've been following me for a while, if you know me, I struggle with those things at times. To me, it's just like I want to have like this outburst of opinion that is quite heavy-handed and confrontational when it comes to the foolishness of our current world leaders, and just be like, you people are all a bunch of fools, But we want to be productive. We want to be approachable, yet at the same time, again, express what it is that we can so clearly see taking place. And some of the good guys came about. Some of good things and good guys prevailed this week on a great many fronts. No, don't get it twisted. We're not... This current quote-unquote war, it just began. And it's going to be going on for a while. And it's going to get very bloody and very nasty. And it's because bad guys took over. The bad guys took over. They're very evil. They took over. And we good guys... Well, let's put this into perspective. We good guys got lazy, and the bad guys saw that. The bad guys are like, look, they're not protecting the West Wing, the East Wing, the North Wing, the South Wing. They're not protecting each other anymore. They've dropped the ball. They got fat. And when I mean fat, I mean we take for granted. We just got apathetic. We got bored. The imagery there of negligence. That's the idea. Negligence. We became obese, if you will. And the bad guy saw that. So they're like, well, now's the perfect time to invade. We have to slowly eat at this massive beast that has been, the power of the world. And they saw it. because we dropped the ball. We got lazy. We took for granted, and the bad guys saw that breach in the wall. They're like, there's where we're going to infiltrate, right there. And they did. And they took over. They took over every aspect of public life. Everything. As a matter of fact, they've even taken control of our private lives inside the home. They get to dictate now what you say and do and think. Oh, in your home. And you say, well, that can't. No. Yeah, they have. Yeah, we don't live in a free country anymore. Free country, you get to say stuff. We don't get to say stuff anymore. You know it as well as I do. You can't say stuff. We can't even say stuff on some of these platforms. We'll get labeled racist or phobic or alt-right or extremist or Nazis or terrorist or, all these these slanderous, demonizing descriptions, How dare you? This is hate speech. Yeah, so we dropped the ball. They came in, they infiltrated, they invaded, they dismantled, they devoured, they divided, they devoured. They did all this stuff. So now we have bad guys everywhere. Bad guys are leading now I say leading. I shouldn't say leading. Bad guys are tyrannically oppressing us. Bad guys. The bad guys infiltrated everywhere. And now that the good guys are starting to wake up to it, be like, man, what did we do? What did we allow happen to our nations? Well, now we're waking up to it. Now we're like, well, we got to do something. And so we've been doing stuff. We're trying. And a few good things took place this week. A few good things from the good guys. Yeah. Well, Tucker Carlson, he came over and visited us, Canadians, eh? And he did. And it caused an uproar, of course. How dare we allow MAGA-style, alt-right terrorism and ideology into our country? Don't you know this country belongs to the bad guys now, and we don't allow any of those good guys over here? And so there's been kind of like there's been a massive meltdown. But it's so, like, we see them melt down, but because they're melting, I mean, they want to put laws immediately that ban Tucker Carlson or any kind of conservative, American conservative ideology or principle. No, they want to ban that immediately. They can't allow that. No, of course, they've been fraternizing and cooperating and bringing in all the bad guys from America politically on this side and, hugging and being so close to each other. But no, you can't allow Tucker Carlson over here. Say what you will about the guy. I mean, he's spot on, and he's one of the top influencers and social media locations for current events and information on things that are factual. I'm not saying I agree with everything he says. I don't agree with perhaps some religious affiliations he may have or beliefs he may hold. But to the political side of things, he's pretty spot on. He's pretty spot on. I think he seems like a guy who believes in reality and objective absolutes and believes in integrity and journalistic integrity and being upright with the facts. And that's a breath of fresh air. I mean, since the bad guys took over, I mean, they've corrupted everything. So now everything we look at in public life, from government, corporation, academia, entertainment, and media, everything's corrupt. So everything's been the same repetitive propaganda from the bad guys, which is always calling what's good evil and what is evil good. That's how that works. If you scream it long enough and you keep repeating it from all these sectors of public life, the citizenry will subject themselves to it. Yes, tell us what to believe and what to think, master. Yes, master, I wills do as you say, master. And so that's how the sheep herd have become. And following blindly these nefarious and sinister powers, these bad guys who have taken over. But Tucker Carlson, he came over to Canada. And would you know it, a moment of hope and a moment of, well, how should I say, positive outlook that perhaps these fallen nations, this country, fallen to the bad guys, maybe there is something to salvage. Maybe there is something to renew. Maybe there can be a true awakening. Maybe the people can unite. Canadian citizens, American citizens, being like, you know what? We are brothers, aren't we? I mean, we're neighbors, right? We're neighbors. We need to be together on this, man. That's why the bad guys are flipping out right now. They're pressuring laws to enforce that's going to stop the good guys from, liberating us. Tucker Carlson made the waves there on X, virally so, with his ordeal, calling the Canadian Parliament and being like, I'm coming to liberate the Canadian people. You make sure this message makes its way to Justin Trudeau, something along those lines. It was quite humorous, and I found that quite encouraging. Humorous, but encouraging. Because, well, wouldn't it be cool if they did, though? Like little children, we've lost all hope. It'd be kind of cool if they did, though. Yeah, of course, yeah. America needs liberation as well. But we kind of see this big orange man. The big orange man. Bad orange man. Stay away from orange man. That's what we've been told. We've been told that allowing Tucker Carlson here is just unacceptable. Oh, yeah. The current bad guys that are in control, they went on camera yesterday and, of course, made fools of themselves. And I speak that descriptively to the things they were saying. They were bumbling and buffling all about, truly. It almost seemed like one of those Joe Biden lapses. Yeah, man, where am I? I'm going to fall on the ground again. It's sad, really, because these individuals are human beings. They're just so corrupt of mind, and they've lost access to their faculties. They don't have a rightly thinking mind to logically discern what's taking place. So to them, it's kind of like, MAGA evil, Tucker Carlson evil. They're all alt-right evil extremists and terrorists, and we have to stop it. And then the journalists are like, well, don't you play a part in the chaos that has to... No, climate change. It's all because of the weather. They're so delusional. But boys can be girls. Let's just murder babies. That kind of an influence is what they have, and so they just again made fools of themselves. The hypocrisy of the things, and I think Canadians are finally waking up to it. Like you want to put laws that get rid of Tucker Carlson visiting us, and here's why. Ultimately, it's the same thing as the Pharisees' hate for Jesus. Why? Because Jesus was actually gathering a following of people who were like, man. The Sanhedrin oppression and these Pharisaical kinds, they were oppressing us. And Jesus has opened our eyes to their error and their self-righteous, indignant hypocrisy. And if we follow Jesus, then we'll truly be loved and we'll understand forgiveness and we'll change. We'll change the way we were and we'll follow Jesus. And the Pharisees were like, no way, look at him. He's taking away all our money. Because they were greedy, Those people belong to us. Those citizens belong to us. They are under our oppression. It's kind of like the new king in Egypt over there in Exodus chapter 1. He didn't care much about the cooperation taking place in the past. No way, with Joseph and all that. No. We need to extinguish human life and oppress the citizenry with hard labor and keep them as slaves to our way. Well, the Pharisees, they didn't like at all that Jesus was calling out some of their oppressed subordinates. People were waking up like, we need to follow Jesus. Therein is freedom and privilege. Therein is the right way of life, giving us purpose. These Pharisees, they're just oppressing tyrants. They're just bad people. They're the bad guys. And they didn't like that all that much, so they crucified Jesus. They're like, we must murder Jesus. Of course, Jesus permitted it. He allowed it. He was in control of that all the time. But you can see how this works. Well, it's the same now with the bad guys who are in control. They're seeing that the good guys are catching traction and are following upright political sources. Because we would prefer having policies within the realm of our former glories, which permitted us to have peace in the community. And so the bad guys are like, oh, we can't allow that. They're taking away our subordinates, our loyalists. They're removing the citizenry from the bondage of from the bondage we had them snared in with all this psychological manipulation. They don't like that. Oh, no, they don't want none of that. So they're angry and they're fighting back. They're going to fight. They will use everything at their disposal to get rid of us. I mean, the bad guys have already put in motion to legally extinguish us. We've been legally being extinguished for a while now by the bad guys. From the moment of conception all the way to our senior years and everything in between. They are removing us from Earth. And the good guys, we woke up to that. We're like, hey, man, this isn't cool. We got to fight back. Yeah, it's time to fight back. Hopefully it's not too little too late, but there's a massive change. And so Tucker Carlson, he comes to Canada, and he fills a stadium. He brought forth a greater crowd than has ever been seen by the current bad guys and their political runs and their campaigns and everything. Like it spoke a language very loud and clearly, as is the common language with citizenry. If you've been paying attention globally, there is a movement of people saying we do not want to be slaved to globalist powers we never voted for. We've lost our sovereignty. We've lost our independence. We've lost our freedom and privilege to a great degree. I'm not saying to the fullest measure yet, which is why it's a good thing the good guys got off the couch and be like, hey, I think we got to stop watching the game and start fighting for something. Put down the beer, turn off the football or the hockey for a little while. Don't crucify me. I'm not saying, it needs to be forever, but for now, and let's just, do something that would be constructive and productive for the greater good of our neighborhood and society and province and state and nation, stuff like that. Because I assure you, we'll be removed forcefully from watching the game if we don't. You may say, well, I don't want to miss the game today. You'll be missing it for all tomorrows if you don't miss the game today. Missing the game today means you might be able to watch the game tomorrow for another 10, 20, 30, 100 years. But if you keep watching the game today, they're going to bust into your door, they are going to apprehend you, and you're going to be publicly executed outside or put in a dungeon somewhere and shackled there for a long time with hard labor. I mean, let's weigh out the stuff here. And to that principle and end, it's much more better for us to look at the priority of spiritual things and eternal life. No, I want to just live my life my way on this earth. Yeah, but you're giving up eternity by doing so. You may get to watch the game today, but you're going to lose every other game coming in the future. You may get to live a worldly life and think worldly and speak worldly and do worldly things now, but you're going to lose your opportunity to have eternity in peace forevermore time. So you see how that works. But anyway, so yeah, let's put all those things down and let's just, do what's right legally, not in revenge, not in retaliation, not with any bittered, heavy hand. We must not behave and do as they do. We can and most certainly must utilize righteous violence against unrighteous violence and things of that kind, self-defense and whatnot, and the protection of innocence. And okay, that's fine. But the good guys this week really shined, and things happened. And Tucker Carlson came over and visited us, and he filled up the Coliseum there. He really did. And what they spoke and the things they said, it was encouraging to hear, really. Because we do need liberation. As much as the American people need liberation from their tyranny that is currently in power there, the same with us here. And this movement, this youth, if you will, that is connected and seeing the problem, they want to change. And we're demanding it. And we're ready, of course, to make it our hill, if you understand. This is the hill we will... This is the hill we will lay down our life for. We're there. We're there. That's it. We've made it there. We wanted to flirt with that moment in our history. How much can we do before it all just crumbles down? Well, we're there now. We're there. And so now's the moment to fight or flight. Yeah, no, now's the moment, of course, where this hill is before us, and we have to be ready to lay down our life for it. But ultimately, again, the priority is to be right with God. Because if we do or have to depart this earth, if we're right with God, we'll be okay. So Tucker Carlson comes over, and a massive success. And of course, they wanted to stop him. The bad guys wanted to stop him so bad. They were doing. Now they're flipping out, and I'm telling you, it's embarrassing to watch them. They're so delusional. They have no argument. It's just, do what we tell you to do, and we're going to put laws that stop these people from coming to our country, these alt-right Nazis, and we want no it's just so embarrassing. They're so lost. But it was a win for the good guys, obviously, because it showed Canadians, and it showed the world that we have more, how should I word this? The Canadian people in majority are more for the policies that Tucker spoke about and Trump speaks about, because this is greater than Tucker and Trump, by the way. It is. What we're talking about here is not just a random, let's just see which political party we're going to vote for this time. No, get your head out of the sand. No, we're at the now good and evil thing. It's right there. And the policies that Trump speaks about and Tucker speaks about, and a great many on the conservative side of the fence, if you will, speak about, that's what we're praying for. That's what we're voting for. The character of the men may be questionable, obviously. No doubt. These people are not free from sin. They live in sin, and they say sinful things at times, and they do sinful things, and they practice sinful things. But the policies they speak of, that is indeed what we are voting for. The policies. Why? Because the policies come from a divine principle. That's why. Because we're tired of murdering our own little babies. We're tired of perverting them with all sorts of sexual deviancies. We're tired of the never-ending tyranny of perverts and murderers, if I'm being quite frank with you. We want to go back to the policies and principles that allow us to live in peace with our fellow neighbors, so we can proclaim the good news of our Lord and Master, and we can go to church together and be the church and worship God and find that purpose in life that treated us well for a long time. So Tucker Carlson comes over. That was positive. What else happened? Well, Trudeau was found by our highest court in Canada to be lawless. This whole thing that took place in regards to the how should I word it? The way he treated the Freedom Convoy, which was a Freedom Convoy. It was filled with bouncy castles and people helping each other, and it was a peaceful protest, a historical peaceful protest, a life-changing moment. Of course, the bad guys, they couldn't allow what was happening, which is good. The protest was good and peaceful. They couldn't allow that narrative. So, of course, they had to double down with calling evil good and good evil. They are evil. They call themselves good. The Freedom Convoy was good. They had to call that evil. Demonize and slander. And they are masters of gaslighting and projecting and all these kind of corrupt and toxic traits. So our leading court judged that the actions taken by the bad guys were unlawful and against our chartered rights. That is a major win. You know why? Because now all us citizens who were physically assaulted by police officers, ourselves as the church, were removed by law enforcement. We were not permitted to be the church together and worship God on a Sunday in the Western world, in Canada. We couldn't travel. We couldn't go to funerals. We couldn't go to weddings. We couldn't work. We couldn't even go out to eat and buy groceries. We couldn't do anything. We couldn't even have people over during holiday seasons. And when we protest against that, which was the Freedom Convoy, we were physically assaulted, trampled, beat, All of those things were taking place. All of it. It was unlawful. As we knew it from the very beginning, by the way. As we knew it was. Well, finally, our highest power in court said, you know what? It was unlawful. It was illegal, what they did. So now they're scrambling. The rats are jumping. No, really, they're resigning one after the other. Why? Because you know what's going to happen with these corrupt, evil people. They're going to resign and retire somewhere as a multimillionaire. Somewheres where they won't get caught or something. I don't know. Or maybe justice will happen. But this is what's happening because since now the truth, of course, was revealed in the highest court in Canada that all those actions throughout all those years were unlawful. Well, now we get to bring them all to court and be like, I want reparation or I want justice. So that's a good thing. That's a positive thing that there's a change there. So Tucker Carlson in Canada, massive success, showing Canadians in majority are against the evil globalist policies, which is to enslave us and murder us. So that's a good thing that all Canadians are waking up to that. There's more Canadians here that would be ready to vote for Trump. Here's where we're at in history. Because we're recognizing that the policies he represents, it wouldn't need to be Trump. It could be anybody else. It's a matter of the policies, not the person or his character, though it's a bonus if you can have yourself an upright character and behavior. I'm not saying I endorse Trump on all aspects of that end. I think the man to be, this ego-driven, godlike complex. I'm God. Everything I do is right. Well, no, his character, as entertaining as it is, I don't vote for his character. I vote for his policies. Okay, so that was successful to having Tucker over here. And it was successful that the highest court deemed the Trudeau government to be lawless, to have broken the law. And it's not the first time, by all means. The guy has so many ethics violations, I can't keep up with it. The man's been a corrupt leader. I respect and honor the office, and I, as a Christian, am commanded by the inspired writ to be respectful and to honor the office and to have a, a cordial, civil, and mature interaction with our leaders, even when they are as corrupt can be. Though I cannot subscribe to the citizenry who have been openly protesting. You can see the flags all over the place, where it says the F word, F Trudeau. It's the same thing as like F Biden. Well, I can't subscribe to that, obviously, as a Christian, but I certainly do understand the sentiment of it all. I understand why the people have been driven to such anger. So, good thing number one, Tucker came, successful, showed the Canadian people we want to change. We are no longer willing to submit to the globalist powers that have been enslaving us and destroying us and murdering us, that have infiltrated all sectors of public life: government, corporation, academics, entertainment, and media. We need to flush it all out. There needs to be a change. So we saw that. Moving forward in things that I've seen on Twitter this week, of course, is the whole Texas border issue. And I'm paying close attention to that because that might just be the seed the evil bad guys want to plant for civil war. And it almost seems inevitable at this time. It really does. I pray against any war. Because as much as the bad guys are warmongers, fearmongers, bloodlusting tyrants, they don't understand what they want. Forgive them, Father. They have no clue. They know not what they do. Like, they want to bring something that they think it won't affect them because they're going to be able to hide in bunkers. Death has no prejudice. Death will find you. You can build the most elaborate billionaire bunker. You can't escape. You can't escape it. Death has no prejudice. It don't care. Sin is coming. Sin is around. This fallen world is just... So, the whole Texas thing, of course, Texas is right to protect the sovereignty of their state. They are according to the Constitution's properly interpreted documents. And the bad guys who are in control, they don't like that. Because, of course, this has all been pre-planned. This is not just the acts of delinquency, though there's a lot of delinquency at the helm. This is all premeditated. It's all premeditated. They've been planning this for a long time. It is, of course, foreign threat, invasion, and it's to the chaos of the nation, to have it fall into the arms of evil. And so there's a clash taking place, obviously, from Texas enforcement for law and the bad guys, Joe Biden and federal powers and their bad guys in control to this end. And I'm paying attention because that could be the spark. That could be what, broke the camel's back. It could bring a fourth civil war. And I don't want that. It's a bloody, gruesome thing. And we don't want that. But at times in history, we must practice righteous violence. We are so polarized and divided. Now, the unifier is Christ, but people don't want Christ anymore. The bad guys, they want nothing to do with Jesus. We want Jesus. We want to follow Jesus. We know that it is through Jesus, our King, we receive our freedom and privilege. We don't get to... You don't need to go beg the government for privileges and freedom. No. The government is not the power that gives us freedom and privilege. God, the Christ, is. And so it seems almost inevitable that there is going to be a separation. I'd much rather have a mature separation. Be like, okay, you all want to live that way? Then you all have that piece of land and you all go there and live there. But we want to live according to the principles of Christian behavior, which has treated us well and given us peace for a long time. God has blessed us with Christian principles. So yeah, you guys go there, we'll go here. You do what you do, we'll do what we do. And we tend to know that for a long time because you had foreign countries in war and murder and death all the time, and they did what they did, and we're just like, they want to believe in that kind of barbaric religious worldview and murder each other. It's sad. We don't want them to do that. And those who wanted to escape there legally, they could begin the process to legally migrate here, and we warmly embrace them and be like, welcome. You're an American now. You're a Canadian now. We used to understand that. See, now it's just invasion. It's for the destruction of the Western world and culture because we used to believe in a higher power. So the Texas border conflict is certainly concerning, and I'm paying attention to it. I am encouraged that the good guys are uniting and saying, we have to stop the bad guys from doing what they're doing. See, we used to understand that the good guys would stop the bad guys. But now, we're the baddies, aren't we? What else? Coming elections. Over here, we won't make it to an election because our electoral process is compromised, just as it is over there in America. And it's no longer a conspiracy, right? We can take off the foil hat now. It's actually documented. It's actually proven. Now, the bad guys are going to say so. So if you open up their channels and their departments and whatnot, they're going to, till the bitter end. Just like I was mentioning, the bad guys and their reaction, what they had to say in regards to Tucker Carlson visiting us and in regards to our highest court saying that they are unlawful and have broken the law. What do you think they have to say? We're going to reappeal it. We disagree. And we are going to put laws that will never allow MAGA-type alt-right extremists like Tucker Carlson to infect Canada. And we're putting laws against misinformation. Now, they are the evil sources. They are the misinformation channels. They are the murderers and the liars, and they are the bad guys. But they have us fully convinced that, no. Well, that table has turned now. We woke up. We're like, no. And isn't it interesting that they call themselves the woke when they are sleeping zombies? But the good guys are truly awakening and seeing that. And so they were just like, no, Freeland Freeland is a strange, they all are very strange people. Freeland and Guilbeault and Trudeau. And again, I honor and respect the office, and I know it's not an easy task to lead, but they haven't led anything. And their characters are so devious and perverted, and just so strange, even when Freeland was being questioned about all the Canadian people whose bank accounts were being frozen because we disagreed with tyranny and communism. She actually mocked it. She's like, yeah, I know, right? I know. It's just moi, isn't it? I like to freeze bank accounts, and she has this strange psychotic kind of thing. Like I don't know how to explain it, but she's like all of them. Yeah, Trudeau as well, and Guilbeault. These people are not, and I say this and without any bitterness. I say this in a very logical and mechanical way. These people are not fit to lead a first world nation. These people were not fit in 2015 when they corrupted and infiltrated and manipulated the electoral integrity to their agenda, their selfish ambition. No, not at all. These people do not. The Liberal Party, the NDP Party, and the Green Party do not anymore represent any kind of stable source of leadership at all. These people are fascist and Marxist, dictators and communists. These people do not belong in public influence and power. And they are not even the source of leadership. They are puppeteered by the globalist entities. The Schwabs and the WEF, the WHO, the UN, all these corrupt entities now. They didn't need to be corrupt. It's not that they were constructed inherently in corruption. It's that corruption, contaminated it and seeped in there. And I mean, man, that's just, you can't function that way. We can't function. That's why we see a complete degeneracy of our society. Suicide is rampant all over the place. I mean, we have little boys who think they're being taught to be little girls. And of course they're confused. And of course they're going to commit suicide. But the bad guys are telling us it has to do with the weather. And it has to do that because we don't want to mutilate them and castrate them, somehow they're going to commit suicide? Where are the insane asylums? Where are the asylums? There needs to be a location of healing for people who are mentally disordered. But yet we've taken the mentally disordered and given them the key to the city and said, here, you're in power now. Friends, the people who think boys can be girls are in control of the nation. Now, they are not in control of our thoughts. Jesus should be in control of our thoughts. And though they think they are in power, ultimately, God, we know, is in power. But because of the agency of free will, these bad guys get to choose to be bad guys. And we good guys should stand up against them and be like, you're the bad guys. We need to get rid of you. You need to go to jail. We need to bring back capital punishment. We've lost the fear of God in our nations. We have, and we need to bring it back. Even in the ancient world of Isaiah, look at the literature. He spoke the remedy. We need to repent. Look at all the blood we got on our hands. We've been murdering innocent little children. I mean, we got blood on our hands. We need to repent and change, and we need to remove evil. Remove evil and wickedness. Bring it to justice. I mean, those principles, though we are no longer bound by the old law, we certainly learn the principle of God's nature through them. And sadly, man's to and fro. Moments of blessing when they followed God faithfully, and sadly, moments of curse when they neglected God and turned against him. That same principle is well and alive today. And so in cap, as we move towards the conclusion here, if you will, but before we speak a bit more, please consider subscribing to the channel. Subscribe, like, share, drop a comment. My name is Stefan Maillet. AddedSouls.com is the website. Friends, you can certainly choose to support this work. It helps put food on the table. Consider it. Sign up to addedsouls.locals.com. You can support there. There's the PayPal option. Email address additsouls@gmail.com. If you seek a physical address or you have concerns or questions, reach out to me. We'll have a video chat. We can have a phone call. We can have email exchange. I'll be more than happy to send you a physical address. And as you can see on the screen, we create and stream on many platforms: YouTube, Twitter, Substack, Locals, Rumble, Facebook, iTunes, Spotify, Google, Amazon, Patreon, all those wonderful locations. So good news, Tucker came. It was successful. Trudeau broke the law. It was finally stated by our highest courts. The Texas border is concerning. However, the good guys are fighting against the bad guys, and that's a good thing. Coming elections, I don't think we're going to make it to the next election here. I think there's going to be some telling moments in the coming months, and dare I say, so it will be in America as well. Trump seems to be the primary in the Republican Party and race, and man, when you even have some powerful names in the hip-hop culture and the hip-hop entertainment world that are actually verbally speaking and saying, I'm voting for Trump, people have had enough of this, the evil woke left. And I say that because that's kind of what they've embraced. That seems to be now the cultural common dialect to describe them, the woke left. We've had enough of the woke left. The woke left is just another, if you will, repeated evil that has come and gone in history and has sadly destroyed nations. We need to repent. We need to change. That's it. We need to go away from all this perversion and all this murder, all this greed and pride, all of it. And we won't have God's blessing any other way, really. And there are people who are humble and are praying. There are faithful people who are praying and fighting back. And we pray that there's going to be a change, that the good guys are going to be victorious because of God's blessing. Because we can't be victorious or successful without God. It's not going to happen. So if I just, for instance here, give us a few minutes on Twitter real quick like I usually do. Let's go to this format right here. Look at that. Bing, bang. And let me bring the screen here right there. Let me put this down. There we go. So this is my Twitter feed, and the Twitter feed, if you will. And I really appreciate everyone watching. We got a bunch of people watching today. I just have a few names that I can see real quick. Kelly with us, Tammy, Anik, Connie, Shalyn. Awesome to see all of you there and the wonderful comments. I'll be looking at those a bit more closely afterwards. So on our Twitter feed here, as you can see, I just opened it up, and you have various individuals that I follow along with, see what they have to say. Zachary Tisdale, I don't know him, but he is a political voice somehow and influence, and I tend to agree with a great deal of things he writes. He writes here, we're being governed by a narcissistic death cult who think they are better than us and want to control all of our lives. Yeah, spot on. That's exactly it. Over here, government controls every sector and aspect of our human life. Everything. I mean, you name it, you go ahead and they control it. Here's the only thing they don't control: the freedom of human free will in Christ. And they know that, so that's why it resorts always to murder. We have to murder them. Why? Because they're not going to comply with our mandates. Why? Because they follow their Lord and Master Jesus. That's why they know they had to get rid of Christianity. Once they get rid of Christianity, it's free reign. That's why the ism of atheism was first infiltrated. Because once we subscribe to the worldview that there is no God, they got us. When we believe in a higher power, we can conquer drug addiction, alcohol addiction. With God as a higher power, we can make a toxic relationship into a healthy relationship. God's power can change us. And the bad guys, they know that, so they had to get rid of Christianity. They had to get rid of God. They did that. They know that. And this Zachary here, I don't know much about his religious background or religious beliefs, but the principles he speaks. You see, we're not at war with flesh and blood here. We're at war with powers and principles. And these are the very things that are taking place in heavenly places that have an effect and consequence on us here on earth. So what he says there is spot on. Ian Miles, I think, is a journalist for Rebel News. Again, with all of these, I don't necessarily agree with everything they say, but a great majority of the things they say have a conservative principle behind it. He says, why are women becoming increasingly woke and men increasingly conservative? I have some theories, but I'd like to hear what you think. And of course, he shares a chart there on things, and it generates thread, it generates tweet and retweet. Sean Rickard, if I'm pronouncing that properly, he has a lot of things to say that I agree with. And again, with all of these, you have to be careful, obviously. You have to have a strong conscience, because many of these, well, their language is not Christ-like, if you will. Anyways, Sean says, as a Canadian who has been suing and fighting the corrupt, tyrannical Trudeau government in the federal courts over their heinous thingy mandates for more than 2 years now, with zero support or recognition from the CPC HQ or the MSN, I might add, I find it deeply insulting. Let's see what else he says here. I hope he doesn't say any bad words, but if he does, we're adults. We'll move past it. After judging ruling against the invocation of the EMA, that numerous Conservative MPs across Canada, most of whom sat silent. Okay, I know which direction he's going now. And he's right. It's true. He's basically voicing his grievance against the reality that our Conservative Party, which was supposed to be the voice for the people and the opposition, were going along with it because, well, most of them are corrupt. Most of them are very corrupt. I think there are still some in there upright trying to make a difference, but ultimately they're corrupt, and there needs to be a change in the party as well if they gain power again, because they weren't fighting for Canadians. They were on board with the bad guys. Next up, Dr. Jordan Peterson, very intelligent individual. And of course, a bastion of hope for us and principles that allow our society to function properly or morally upright. He says he isn't sufficient as a sacrificial lamb. Resign, puppet. And he's speaking, of course, to Justin Trudeau to that effect, and retweeting Keenan Bexty, who is one of our grassroots conservative journalists, doing a wonderful job, sticking his neck out there in a great many dangerous ways to give us the news, if you will. And he says, breaking, Liberal Justice Minister resigns from Parliament after federal court judge rules his party violated the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedom. It's happening. Yeah, it's happening, and it's about time. And of course they're resigning. They're jumping ship. They know it's coming. There has to be justice. And these individuals, I know this sounds crazy, but as it is the truth, these individuals are guilty of crimes against humanity. They're guilty against crimes against humanity. People have been murdered. People have been neglected to die. In a first world country, yeah, they're resigning, all right. Yeah, we'll find them. Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley, yeah, she's not been having favorable discourse her way. She seems to be the neocon deep state pawn in the mix here, and I don't know. If the Democrats want her to win, you know there's a problem. We live in such a polarized time in our history that anytime the bad guys vouch for someone, you know that someone is a bad guy somehow, or has been purchased or corrupted somehow. So yeah, I'm not a Nikki Haley fan, though she does say a great many things that I would agree with in policy, if you will, or principle. She's not headed the right direction, and I think she's going to know it. Zachary, of course, says again that the Liberal Party of Canada is full of communists and crybabies. Spot on, dude. The Millennium Falcon, the post-millennial, says Tucker Carlson in Canada, quote, you should dislike and resist Justin Trudeau and his government to the maximum extent of your ability. That's why we like Tucker. He's right. And he's right not because he himself is the source of right. Whether he be the one saying it or not doesn't matter. The principle he is speaking is right. And that's what woke left Democrats just can't see. And I don't say that with ill will towards my fellow neighbors who may be loyalists to the Democrat policy. I love them, truly. And if they come over, I'd cook them a meal. I don't have a problem with that. The issue is that the policies they subscribe to make them into very foolish individuals. And what Tucker is speaking, whether he exists or not, is right. We need to resist evil, whether it be socio-politically and, of course, religiously. Religious error needs to be exposed and called out. All of that kind of stuff. We'll have to wait for another session on that one. CBC, which is a long arm, of course, propaganda, purchased corruption from the Trudeau government, along with all mainstream news outlets, says a man accused by police in India of helping smuggle a family of 4 through Canada just before they froze to death on the U.S. border has been found living freely in a suburb outside Toronto. Well, that's something. That's an interesting story. CBC, CTV, Global, all these entities, if you will, they're constantly telling the Canadian people that the American conservative kind are evil, and we're not allowed to hear anything they have to say because we're not smart enough to discern ourselves what we want to listen to. They have to tell us what we can listen to, stuff like that. So imagine being born and raised in the community in Canada where the only thing you're being told is Americans are bad and evil. Well, they aren't. I've lived there. They're some of the most awesome folks I've met. Oh, yeah, you'll meet some crazy ones over there, too. I mean, just like in Canada, you can meet some good old boys over here and have yourself a good old time, but you can certainly bump into the wackos because what is evil infiltrates anywheres and everywheres, and it has, sadly, invaded our location. End Wokeness is an interesting channel I follow as well. Showing some interesting stuff there, right? Fighters, 88% men. Construction, 94% men and whatnot. Because of this whole now feminist movement thing, right? Which is no longer about equality. No. That ship has sailed. Rebel News. Feds use fake... And listen to this one. See, there's a lot of good news coming out now from these grassroots conservative outlets. Because we care about the facts. We care about reality. We do. We care about the truth. So they say feds used fake intelligence to frame Freedom Convoy as violent extremists. And you Americans, my dear friends, you know all about this. They did the same thing to y'all over there in January 6th, didn't they? It's an insurrection. It's a terrorist overtake of the government. They called evil good and good evil. They did the same thing to us here. Canadians just, at their last whim, protesting with the motive of an upright protest. We were demonized. We were called every name in the book. It's the same thing. You guys, my American friends, you know what it's all about. You know what it's... You all have gone through that. The same thing's happening over there as well, isn't it? The documents are finally being made public to the end that the bad guys in control were calling the good guys bad guys. So the feds used fake intelligence. The feds. Imagine that. The feds used fake intelligence to frame Freedom Convoy as violent extremists. We weren't violent extremists. They were. They were the ones trampling us down, physically assaulting us, beating us, putting us in jail. For what? Having bouncy castles? Drinking coffee and eating hot dogs? Dancing? Man, oh man, oh man. Another scandal brews in the aftermath of the Emergencies Act, ruling as intelligence agencies reportedly fabricated information to indict supporters of the Freedom Convoy. Well, we knew that. Look at this guy. Look. This is the leader, quote-unquote leader here. He's not a leader, but look at him. Like, isn't that like a strange, effeminate... Isn't he a strange, effeminate individual? Like, who claps like that? A girl, maybe. Like, I can see my baby daughter do that. Have you seen the way he sits as well? Like, we have ourselves a very effeminate, perverted individual in power. And he's got to go. And I'm telling you, they're scrambling. They're scrambling. Sarah Huckabee Sanders. My American friends should know her. She's spot on. If President Biden won't defend us, states will have to defend themselves. Arkansas stands with Texas. And again, it's brewing closer to the Civil War. Anyways, we could keep going, my dear friends, but the hour is up. The hour is up, so we need to go back to the solo track here. Bang. And friends, again, please consider subscribing, liking, sharing, drop a comment, all that kind of good stuff. The socio-political conversations we've had today are reserved for Fridays. I go live at 10 a.m. Atlantic Daylight Time from Monday to Friday. Sorry, on Monday I upload at 10 a.m., but on Tuesday through Friday I go live. It's the Added Souls podcast stream. There are other people out there, just like you and I, who would find this kind of material substantive to their lives, their walk. And it's a good source. And we're working together at it. Please consider if you are willing and able to support this kind of work. It helps put food on the table. And it motivates us to grow the studio and more content, and motivates us to that end because, well, we see that we're making a difference and we're encouraging people. And sometimes encouragement is truly just a like-minded conversation. Me telling you the bad guys are bad sometimes is all you need to know that there are good guys doing good things. And that's important for sure. You are loved. You have purpose in life. The MyA family loves you dearly and have been praying for you, all of you. We recognize we all need God's grace. And we are truly humbled by your willingness to support the work here. I labor alongside the East Coast Church of Christ. It's a beautiful, growing, healthy church. And if you just look at the fruits that are being produced, you'll see that God is working with us. There are many other toxic locations, but it's good to see a healthy location, a healthy congregation, and find out what we're about and the mission, and reach out, and maybe you'd like to get involved and support. To all of you who already support, thank you so much, really. Your names are on the list, and we pray for you daily. It's the least we can do. You choose to send financial gifts our way as our friends and spiritual family, and we don't take that for granted. We know that is a blessing. It helps put food on the table, and it keeps us motivated to grow the work. And from my opinion, I think on Fridays it's a good thing we talk about politics stuff, current events. Don't allow yourself to spiral downwards with it. Don't make it the focal point of your life, but just be aware of it, and together we can talk a bit about it because it's everywhere. It's part of our lives. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. All right, man, I don't think I got anything else to say at this hour. Stay focused and stay positive. If you want a bit more of me, again, sign up to addedsouls.locals.com or find me on my personal profiles. Good stuff. Peace out.